Crap.
Let's do this crap. That's actually what I'm going to put in the beginning of the video right here. This is just where we started, which says, let's do this crap.
Let's just do this crap.
This entrepreneurship crap.
With the gang.
With the gang.
All right.
So we're here with some fellow entrepreneurs. So a lot of you, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, know who I am. Maybe this got shared somewhere and you don't need to learn like the whole history of my YouTube channel anyways. I am Tom Lawrence, owner of Lawrence Systems, and this is...
I'm Eric Thomas, not the owner of Lawrence Systems.
Yeah. And this is Dana.
Dana White, absolutely not the owner of it.
And keeping with the theme, it's...
And I'm Anthony Montalbano, and still not the owner.
Still not the owner of Lawrence Systems. But we are all business owners, and they're all friends of mine, so this is all why we're all sitting at this table. And we just spent like 3 hours. It's almost 8 o'clock. We've been at this for 3 hours before we turned the microphones on, which we could have turned them on 3 hours ago. You would have heard a lot of...
Really long video.
It would have been a really long
Entrepreneurs
video.
like to complain to each other.
Yeah.
We're our only friends.
Yeah, now we want to complain on video.
I'm never going to complain to
Hopefully
you.
not 3 hours.
Hopefully not for 3 hours.
I would like to get some sleep today.
I think
right.
though, Eric defined entrepreneurship really simply. So your definition of entrepreneurship is?
So I define entrepreneurship as the talent for creating processes that allow people to derive value over and over and over again.
I think that's just a super clear, as any one of us have done that. You know, I have a process by which, you know, the inbound leads come in and then a person processes it and the task is done and the revenues are collected. And Dana owns a
business.
Yes.
You notice all business owners have like PTSD. We just say we have a business and we just stare off blankly.
We own a
Hi,
business.
my name is Dana White, and I own a business. Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
It's like a support
Started
group
7 years ago, and I had a dream, and I thought that if I just wrote it down and just handed the paper out,
Believe strongly enough.
that they would just come to work and do what was on the paper, and no.
No.
Yeah.
There's everything else to it.
Just do what I ask and know what I need you to
And if
do
I
without
give
me telling you.
money, and that's not working.
So a lot of this started, so in all seriousness, a lot of this had started because I did a video of I hate my job is not a business plan.
It's
and
not.
I repeated that to a lot of people because I love, don't get me wrong, I love every one of you who've ever emailed me that you started a business. You helped me, Tom, with some of the videos you did where you talked about, you know, different aspects of the business, how you started and things like that. And that's great. But I want to be very, very real and not just hear from me. I'm one of those people like, hey, I'm not just making stuff up as one person. I talk to people, and the struggle is real when it comes to starting it. You think you're just going to write down these processes, people are going to follow them, or people will just give you business because you started. And I think all of us have concluded at some point that we still hardly make the money we made working in corporate. there's and I know.
You saw the two people at the end of the table. Look, they both were hurt. See, I hadn't worked corporate. All of these kind folks were at corporate, so I've always been broke.
Yeah.
They've had a fall from heaven like Lucifer, but...
and if you have paused this video and Googled Eric Thomas, you may have seen, I don't know, TEDx on the stage.
There's two of us. There's two of us. We're both black, but there's one yells and I tell jokes. And that's the main differentiator.
Yeah.
We're both public speakers though, so it's weird as heck.
Yeah, but Eric has made what, if you were looking at it from the outside in, and it's one of those things, you assume, Eric's, you were up on the stage at, what was that big branding conference? I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it.
Who even knows? I've been at the Digital Summit a few times. I've spoken for the IDSA. I've spoken all around the country, which is weird.
They've put him in planes, fly him places, so you think, oh, cool.
It's got to be successful.
Yeah, but then does your apartment have furniture yet?
I got furniture like a year ago. I bought my first bed in life 2 or 3 years ago, so I'm feeling like a whole grown up.
You make so many sacrifices to be an entrepreneur. I think that's some of what started some of this conversation of it's, trying to make payroll, trying to,
Payroll.
Payroll.
Ooh.
I know.
Oh.
But it's kind of what we wanted to talk about is there's just a lot of realism. It's important to first start with getting your plan together, writing it down. Make sure you have an idea. Will that idea fly? All that stuff. Hopefully you've gotten at least going, I know how to make money. I know how to extract value from the processes I created. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that challenge of actually getting people to do things, I think would be one of them. And you manage quite a few. How many employees do you have right now?
20.
She gets 20 people to do things.
Sheesh. We had 10 at the max, and that was a lot. 20 is a lot.
I just hired an operations coordinator.
Oh, look at you.
I know. I'm fancy, huh?
Look at you. You a whole grown up.
Yeah. More payroll. More payroll. So yeah, I have an operations coordinator, 2 managers.
How did you get to 20? Let's talk a little bit about that. And how did you not die getting to 20?
I know I am dead. I'm here.
She is a
I
spirit.
don't have a pulse. No, so, you know, I thought I'd reward myself with a second location. And say, you know, let's prove this concept, you know, because that's one more location closer to the vision. And so, wanting to have a vision of a national brand, you need to have a second location. So in order to have a second location, you have to staff for that second location. And so I've noticed that in the evolution of my business that I did every job. Even though I'm not a hairstylist, I did almost every job that led to the evolution. So when I first opened back in 2012, I was shampooing hair, answering the phone, and then closing at the end of the night and doing QuickBooks or, you know, doing payroll, administrative stuff. And so over time, when your business grows, you replace yourself. Right. And so now that my business is growing, I'm replacing myself. And so instead of me overseeing the 2 managers, I now have replaced myself with an operations coordinator who oversees the 2 managers. And then they report out to her about their staff. So, yeah, we grew because I thought it'd be a great idea to have a second location.
But so much of it came from you really, I've watched you write, you're like organized way more than me.
You see my color pencils? Do you remember my color pencils and my
Yes.
Post-it notes?
Yes, you were hardcore.
I ain't got it.
Do you want to see it? No, it's too far away. It's over there.
I ain't got it.
A side note to what makes this all interesting is we all did this very differently. I am not organized as much. I know Anthony is more organized than me. I've seen some of your process flow. I'm probably more like Eric, that I just kind of have a lot of ideas and hope everyone follows.
I just hope for the best, honestly. I don't have it. My business partner is the organizer.
What's so difficult is when you actually do put a process together and you realize that like you have this dream that you're like, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how it's going to work out. And then you put it in place and you're like, that was so far from what I expected.
That's not
And
reality.
So then you start to figure out, do I need to like bold things, or maybe do I need to learn from what didn't work? But yeah, processes are as easy as it might say to do in theory or on paper. Actually putting that in place or actually trying to see that through is so much more work.
Implementation of it is tough.
It's so much work.
Yeah, and it's also, you have to prepare yourself for failure on that. If you didn't write the first time, you fail, you write it again, And that's something where I admire Eric. Eric has failed a couple times, so to speak.
I'm the king of failure. No, you know, what I've discovered, so I do branding, marketing, strategy, and communication. And so much of it is instinct, and so much of it is just years and years of absorbing things that it's so hard to create a process around it. You know, how do you tell someone to go be creative? But there are strategies, and it's something that we've been working on a lot. How do we take out the framework and the infrastructure of the way that we tell stories and put that down on paper so that people may not do it exactly the same way, but they at least know the perspective at which they need to look at things from. And that has been complicated. Because something about scaling creative sucks the soul out of it. You know, it's like, you know, how do you tell somebody to fall in love with an idea or teach someone to fall in love with an idea that they don't actually love? And so that's been something that I've been able to successfully do, but it's something that's harder to get other people to do. And people who are at the level that I'm able to do it are incredibly expensive. Like, I joke like
That's the biggest struggle.
my contemporaries they're in six-figure range. It's like, how do you bring somebody on? Like, I work for me for less money because I am pimping myself to myself. But if I was to bring in another one of me, I know what my market value is. So all of a sudden, you're like, okay, I just need to go find a couple $100,000. I'm sure that'll be easy to do. But it's not. It's not.
No.
No, and it's especially in the creative businesses. So Anthony does development, programming style work, Eric hiring creatives for that, and me hiring network engineers. It's not like anyone could just go through school and become, hey, you want to be a cutting edge network design engineer. How do I scale that out? All of those face a lot of challenges. Your challenges are a little bit different, though.
Yes.
It's still finding people that can do follow the process you created for how they work at the salon.
Yes.
What is the challenge in finding those people?
So they, it's also the industry and the market. A lot of people, there are several people who work in this industry who are not certified, and there's not a lot of oversight for that. So finding certified operators can be tough. And then I've also found that there is a culture that doesn't really set up for a lot of business structure. So it's come when you want, leave when you want, and the only way I know how much money I'm making is how many people text me what appointment they're going to come to, right? So you say, well, yeah, you have your own business and you're running your salon out of your basement. Do you do any forecasts? Do you have a P&L balance sheet? And no. But I'm a businesswoman, and so no place to judge. I mean, they are, but for me, finding the people who have the mindset around the work ethic, the business acumen. No, you can't get money for daycare for your kid outside of your paycheck. Well, you're the owner. Can't you just lend me a couple $100? No, I can't. No, you can't punch in from the parking lot. You have to come in and be ready to work. So they're not in the hair world for some. There is no punching in or punching out.
Well, you've standardized. You standardized a creative space. I always think about that too. Like I could technically do that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, none of this stuff is that damn complicated. Right? It's kind of okay, we need some marketing, we need some PR, we needed to go out at these times. You could strip out all of that extra stuff and just say, all right, I need the graphics to look like this, I need the people to do this, and if we did it at a certain level, we could feasibly scale that up to people with base skills and then go out that way. But for me, that's not the stuff that excites me. Though I always think that maybe I should make a second company that does that, because you have the skill set to do it.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, all right, you're handling all of this stuff that's under $2,000. Like that's that company. And then all the fun stuff, then we handle that over here.
I think too, something, and you shared before, me share again, about how you've had to separate yourself from the staff because they don't maybe like wearing uniforms or wearing, no, it's not a uniform, but like a standard, like you say you have to wear certain clothing certain way, right?
Right. So, and it's not, I just love making everybody do a bunch of stuff they don't want to do. No, it's,
That's what it sounds like.
No, but you have, your customers want it. Your customers want to know you're going to be open at a certain time. Your customers know they're going to get a certain quality of service. And so what you have to do is you have to put these systems and processes in place, especially for people who in this industry, they will do your hair and stop and go get their kid and leave you sitting in the chair, right? And you'll be in the salon all day. So for me...
I'll be in the salon.
What'd you say?
I'll be in the salon
right, all day, right? And they're not having
That's
it.
my homie, but I'll be there.
So what happens is for me... Again, I was overseeing 2 managers, and I had to replace myself. So we're getting to a point where the business needs to grow. It needs to grow. And I can't do that and manage them, right? And so you put in an operations coordinator. I met with my mentor this weekend, and he, has 4 or 5 layers between him. And he meets with the people in those layers. But I've talked to several business owners from our Goldman Sachs groups, and they've all said, Dan, you're at that point in your business where you're hitting these challenges is because there's no layer between you and your employees. You need that layer. So I put that layer in recently, and it's working out splendidly. Wow. It's great.
That's that, the constantly you've heard it. If you've read any entrepreneur book, it says you need to be working on the business, not in the business, and that allows you to step away. And it's letting employees know that, yes, I will leave at 2 o'clock on Friday, not because I just own the place and I just don't feel like working, but I have somewhere to go. I had a meeting to go to. I had whatever. They have to understand that there is some separation between you and the staff. Like, yeah, I am actively involved, and even myself, my hands do touch keyboards. I'm not an external not involved business owner because I don't want to be. But there's like these separations you do have to create in layers, because if every question comes to me and every decision comes to me, I wouldn't be hanging out here with some friends and things like that. Like I can close the door and go on this side of the business, like the studio side as I call it, making videos, doing whatever fun things I want to do because I've got structures in place on there. And it comes back to that, creating those structures and making people understand it. And they don't necessarily apply to you, the owner. You create the structure, other people have to follow it.
Well, it's like
I
what
was gonna say,
Anthony
it's really
said
important
earlier.
what you said, that you have to not necessarily follow it, but it's what everyone else has to do.
And it's
'Cause that's the hard part.
Anthony said
Yeah.
earlier, you have to leave at 2:00 because when you're employed, you don't think about where the money comes from. All you know is every 2 weeks there's a check. When you are the owner, you have to think about where the money's going to come from today, tomorrow, next week, next payroll, next tax cycle. And so that means that if the money is going to come from me going to this event at 1:00 on Friday, or not even an event, me having a meeting with my marketing people or my finance manager and saying, hey, how are we doing and what do we need to do to get more, as I call it, the butts and seats index, the biz, right? The staff doesn't necessarily understand that. They just see you leaving, or they don't see you for 3 days. So they assume that you're sitting at home playing video games because you haven't been in the salon for 3 days.
Or you're waiting for a client to pay you, and you need that check because the mail is going to take too long because you need to cover payroll.
Sometimes you got to just go get the check. Going to get the check is a real thing, especially when you do work. I think especially Tom, Anthony, and I, when you have these, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 up type of projects, you're not just getting these payments. I mean, there's small payments sometimes, but when somebody has to give you like 20,000 and they tell you something like, we're gonna put it in the mail, but they're just down the street.
Oh, you drive and get it.
You drive and get it. You just walk right out the front door and go get it.
I'm going to be here, and I laugh because I like the way they write it. When we do our large infrastructure projects, we require down payments up front. And they actually always write on there, if we work with a general contractor, mobilization money. They write that in the memo. Always makes me happy when I see that, because that's what it is. It mobilizes all of us. I want to get that check right away because one of the deposits was $60,000 to get started on the project. Well, I wouldn't. They're like, hey, can you start like next week? Well, it takes a couple days for that check to clear. I have to figure out how to get all the materials ordered without the money to order materials, because I need 60 G's that you have right now that the bank wants a couple days to get. No, you can't put that in the mail.
You need to give me that. It is also weird talking about processes all the time. Sometimes you work with a company and they just have these arbitrary processes that makes it harder for everybody involved.
Yes.
So it's like, we've had a couple where it's like, we have to take our check and send it to California, then they have to send it back from California to come back to you. It's like, let me tell you what we finna do. What we finna do is I'm finna come get the check so we can go put it in the bank so we can get the project finna started. Like, what's
Understanding
my
your
baby.
my baby?
My baby.
Run me my check.
Understanding the payment terms are so critical.
Man.
I mean, it's like, we try to do like a net 30, and then someone
Can we talk net 90?
Net 90. Nope. I'm like,
This is my guests come in, they pay, they get service, and then they go. So I don't have any counts.
Dog. Can we talk net 90s for a
Net
second?
terms. No.
We were in a meeting one time. And the guy said this was the scariest thing I ever heard as a business owner. He said, with our contractors, whatever your net is, we're going to add 30 days to it. So if you ask for a net 60, we're going to turn it to a net 90. In some months, it was a big, tier 1 company. Said some months, what we're going to do is we're going to hold that money so it could accrue interest. So it'll go from a net 60 to a net 120. And you're just going to have to wait for it.
Yeah.
I was like, did he just say he's not going to pay you for 4 months arbitrarily? Terrified.
Yeah.
The scariest thing I've ever heard.
I swear I've read so many legal contracts or payment terms because I'm always trying to understand what we're getting ourselves into.
Yes.
It's something that I feel like I have a minor law degree for the level of contracts
You're
that I've
paralegal.
read. It's ridiculous.
And let me give you advice. If you're starting out, do read all those. Don't sign while you're there.
Man, you can take that.
100%, yeah.
I learned this when I worked in corporate, and this is something I still use 16 years after having my company. We had to send over a contract. I seen things in that contract that I said, no, this seems like they could not pay me. Mm-hmm. I think this is wrong. And so we went, and this was about 12 page of contract, and we went and just highlighted and circled, and we even sent them. By the way, you can't do this unless you tell them you're doing it. Sure. We admitted we edited the PDF, and we just blocked out sections. And we
Wow.
told them, but you can do that without telling them, but it won't hold up in law. Because if you have to tell them you altered it, because they'll assume you signed the pages. They won't necessarily read back all 12 pages. That's something you may see in movies. It's a gotcha. You do have to say, I modified page 11, sub article 12. I don't agree with that in any way. If this is a problem with getting this project started. And we're doing this at 7:30 at night, back and forth, because they wanted us to start on a Monday, and this was a Thursday, and they had to write a check on Friday. So we had to get this sorted out. And these are things that you will deal with. And trust me, a lot of times if you're new, they're going to look to trip you up.
Oh, important note. Do not let people bully you around payment terms.
Right.
Because they will, at scale, they do this thing where it's like they know you need the money. They know you're growing. And so people will do things that make you feel like you have to do it. People who have been in business for a long time, because we get good at this too, you know where somebody is in their skill, so you know exactly how far you can push to get yourself the most favorable terms. And so people are doing that to you, especially when you look young, especially when you look small, when you don't have scale. And it is a business tactic, because business is all about getting the most favorable terms for your business.
Yeah.
It is all about getting the most favorable payment terms. But people will try to bully you. Do not let that happen.
And if it gets to that point, I would say don't be afraid to walk away.
And just let them
Because
know.
There's even though if you may have lost something on that deal, it's not worth the fight as much as it could be for the next deal. So like it's important that if anything, cut your losses, learn from it, and definitely read the contract next time.
I participate in a lot of tech forums, especially the business ones, and the consulting work I've done related to tech, related to my industry, and it's things I see in the tech forums. I see someone post, hey, I got this contract, it's for, fixing 50 computers on a recurring monthly, blah, blah, I'm charging this. And it'll be like 1/10 of what any of us think should be charged. I'm like, but I'm making money at this. I'm like, well, yeah, when you're by yourself, you are, but you just got suckered into it, and you have no room to grow. You're the only one managing a business. You have no margin to hire anyone.
No margin.
And that is one of those first myths people get caught up into is I'm going to do what my old job used to do, but I'm going to do it for 20% less, 30% less, and still make margin on it. There's so many more things. I got a piece of paper laying over there that says I owe $6,000. That required me contacting people to figure out why I owed IRS money, and then the IRS sending me credit memos. There's all the things in business. You got to have a little bit of that money back there, because that has to happen. You can't just say I'm just going to undercut everything, and that's like one of the first things you do is make those mistakes of giving it away.
Can we talk?
You
Can we talk
really have
margins for a second? That was the thing that we just, like, me and my business partner really are starting to get serious about.
Wow.
We made a chunk of money. You can make a lot of money, but if you don't have any margins, you ain't made no
You're shuffling money.
I know people with $3 million contracts, and the owner took home $35,000 that year.
Yeah.
Period.
His margins are so
Understand
high.
the difference between
Yeah.
revenue and profit.
Profit, yeah.
1,000%.
They're different. We did the
different.
same
Big,
thing,
big
man.
numbers, yeah.
We made close to $500,000 and didn't take no money home. It
The
happened.
margins are slim.
Yeah.
The
You're
most
taking
slim
$500,000 and you're saying you just now got furniture in your place.
You know what I'm saying? Like it is a thing that will happen to you, because when you're making money, it does feel good. Just on the, like, if you just come down to the human part of being an entrepreneur, making money feels cool. You said a thing, you're doing a thing that you love, you talk to some people, you got them involved, they're invested, they gave you the money. You can make any amount of money. You can make $1 billion, but if your margins aren't there, you can't grow.
Yeah.
No.
And you'll shrink. If your business isn't growing, it's shrinking. Businesses are never like flat. Like that is never a
If you
case.
consistently made, let's say, $1 million year after year, you'll just lose to the cost of inflation, the cost of growth, the COLA cost, the cost of living allowances that go up year after year.
Period.
So you almost have to be in a state of growth. And one of the things that we've been doing lately is, over the last 2 years especially, is tweaking the margins a lot more. We raise rates. It's just, in my business, it's as simple as that. We have an hourly rate we charge. How do you make more? Well, I could cut everyone's pay. Not going to go over well. I'll tell you that right now.
Not gonna go well.
No.
Not going to go well. I could try not to ever give them raises. Not going to go well.
Not gonna
either.
go well.
Not if I like them. Not if I like them showing up every day. The only other option is we've had to. So people ask, "Why'd you raise your rates? Why'd you raise your rates?" Because last year this much. I'm like, we had to. Cost of living went up. Everything has to be adjusted with it. You can't brag. Go, man. 10 years later, I'm still charging that same hourly rate. Oh, how's it? And you watch the buildings all decrepit looking. And
Another
At
way
the same
to
time, too, with the whole charging for more, like you have more experience, you have more
Oh, yeah.
value rates
Yeah.
to provide. So it's not necessarily that you're just raising it purely for cost of living, even though
Right.
that is
Arbitrarily.
a factor.
Yeah.
But there is the fact that, like, every single year, if you're doing this
Better.
like day over day, you are getting better. You're providing more value for your customers and clients.
Well, and think about that. How long you been in business, Anthony? So
7 years.
7 years. So a project you did 7 years ago, a project you do today, you know substantially more. You have a bigger team. You can.
I don't even want to look at my project from 8 years ago.
I don't even.
We just recently reopened up a project with a client that's 3 years old, and it makes me cringe. And I'm just
You're like, who wrote
man.
this code? Oh, that was
Unreal.
me.
Some clown named
Some
me.
clown.
Guilty.
It's different when you look at it from a coding standpoint. It's easy for an artist. I love those. I've been an artist for 4 years, but this is how I started, and now I can draw a horse or whatever. I always love those drawings when you like it. It's like they started with stick figures and they draw something really cool. That's easy to visually represent. Code is visual, but unless you're in it, you're like, whoa, I did that. And even little things we've done from years ago, you're just like, wow, like. I'm so much better now, which means I should be charging more because I was doing I did work that I was skilled enough to do 16 years ago.
Another way to increase margins is efficiency. I think
Yes.
people always forget about that too. Like that's another way. Getting more efficiency. A lot of money is lost at the margins. It's right in the inefficiencies. How long does it take for something to get done?
Yep.
That was another. The carrying cost of a project is another thing me and my partner talk about a lot. If you have a project that spans over 3 months, that could have happened in a month. You make you're not just making the same amount of money stretched out. You're actually making less money
Yep.
if it's stretched out because you've got bills that are coming in. They're just taking chunks and fees out of it. And then something goes wrong, and then you're having to do less or you're having to do more. You're spending more time. You have more bodies on it. And so you're making more money because you're inefficient.
That's my process.
The value
yeah.
is in efficiency. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my whole brand. My whole brand is efficiency. Like with our price point, you can have somebody in there for 4 hours, or you can have somebody in there for 45 minutes, right? $40 at 4 hours versus $40 at 45 minutes.
You're gonna
you're gonna make more.
Yeah, you've
money.
created efficiency with some of the other things too, especially what you said about the. I learned this, and I one of the things I really took home from Nasser was a guy I worked for a long time, and there's something about working with some of the mentality of the way the Arab business mind, as he used to call it. He used to call it Nasser School of Business. But there's a lot of things like he used to make these. He spoke broken English, and he goes, "Tom, never get loans from bank." That's why he goes, noose around your neck. And I didn't completely understand it when he gave me that advice, but now I understand it so much better because as you can finance things yourself and make your own margin on it versus, hey, I got this big project. I know I can get so much down, but I have to finance so much because I got to pay the contractors. I got to buy the parts. Well, all right, the bank loaning on that is going to be 8%. Well, that means if they turn into, like he said, 120-day pay, I'm paying 8% on 120 days.
Man.
Now I'm just wandering away. It's just chipping away at it. Well, now I do have people who owe me my money right now, but I financed all of it myself, so it hurts less. And being able to mobilize money yourself means I can get the project, I can do it, and I don't have to be beholden to the bank, their scrutiny for getting the loan, the process, the time-consumingness, and the eating away at margin. And a lot of people, when you're starting out small businesses, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to throw it on credit cards. Been there, done that. American Express choked me, but I had to make payroll, so it was one of those options. Like I had people to pay, I had things I had to get done. American Express was hitting me for like 18 or 19%, whatever that was.
Sheesh.
And and you're like trying to hustle because you get caught in this loop and a hole on there. And now I can do a project without calling American Express, and it's really the market's so backwards, and just life ain't fair. Just kind of face this reality. When you have money, they're going to loan you money at 6%. When you have no money, it's 18 and 21%.
Credit advice here. Get your line of credit before you need your line of credit.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
the biggest mistake that we have made, that everyone I know in business has made, is you don't think you need credit, a credit card, a line of credit until you do. But here's the thing. You will. Oh, my baby, you will.
Yes.
And when you need it, when the lights are going off and everything's crashing down around you, and you go out and you're like, please, sir, might I a bit of porridge? They're going to slap the porridge right out of your hand. Like it's just, that's what happens. And the more desperate you are, the more dubious the lending system get. I think that payday loans are a scourge against humanity.
They are.
Yeah, really.
They are the most dangerous things ever instituted. I still think I'm about to go on a rampage about the Earning app. It is well-branded payday loans for low-income people who need help, and stuff like that is so dangerous because when when you're doing a 40% interest on $100, it doesn't feel crazy. But that's $4,000 out of $10,000. Like, that's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. And you've dealt with, I think you had mentioned one before. Wasn't there some of those ones that you had looked at?
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember you talking about
it. We definitely
we were in
looked at some.
class. And, it will remain nameless for the purpose of this,
Oh, I want to go on a rant because I got a couple of them that messaged me.
I don't even know if
we.
we can say the name, but I'll be safe and not say the name. And so I think the lesson I would say about lines of credit and credit for people, Eric's absolutely right. Don't take them. Don't wait to take them when you need them. Think ahead of the time. And so for me, I panicked. Because I had, rent that needed to be paid and some, things that I needed to do. So I took what is the equivalent of a payday loan for a business. And I went to this place that says, hey, we will give you so much money on your merchant processes, right? So you make so much money a month in credit card payments. So we'll give you a loan on that. For that came out to $25,000, which was the equivalent to what I did per month, or the months that they looked at for credit cards. And you do the interest rate and you're just sign. Okay, where do I sign? Where do I sign? Because I want this money. Where do I sign?
It hits you when you're desperate.
We
And I
definitely
was
have been
desperate.
there. We've definitely been there.
And so at $225.49 a day.
Yep.
5 days a week, excluding holidays.
In those
Yeah.
places, I get so many letters from them.
Yes.
I seen the name of the one you're talking about. Like, they sent me a
Yes.
letter today. That's made me think about it.
225. And
I am
then-
down to disparage every single one of them by
Right,
name.
and then
They
here
are
you are.
predators.
But
Yes.
if I had not panicked, I would have had a conversation with my landlord. Had I not
Yep.
panicked, I would have had conversations. I had to go through it to get to it, to learn it, and that. Be patient with yourself and know that there's value in the work you do in your business, and you can get a line of credit. You can have a conversation with
get an
people
extension.
and get an extension or get a payment modification before you panic. And that's that mind between entrepreneur Dana and corporate bill paying working Dana. Working Dana panics and then just works really hard and makes up the money. Entrepreneurial Dana has a conversation. Right?
Business tip. This is the most important business
Yes.
tip in the universe. You can talk to people.
You can
Yes.
talk.
Like deadlines, I'm not going to say deadlines are arbitrary, but they can shift. This idea that if you don't have the money right now, somebody will just show up in your bedroom and just gut you like a fish is not real. And you seize up this, and this is for all any young entrepreneurs, starting out entrepreneurs that are watching this. This is super important. The tension and anxiety you feel when deadlines are coming, and it doesn't matter the amount of money. $10,000, $10. It feels the same. You feel like an absolute failure. And take that deep breath and make that phone call. Just make the phone call and say, hey, I do not have it right now. I am working on it for you and us because I'm not dodging you. The worst thing you can do is dodge. I've made that mistake in my career. As an artist, I don't know any artist that hasn't done it. Developers do it too. You just blip out of reality.
It's easy to do because you put your head in the sand. Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a shame to it. There's an embarrassment to it. There's an anxiety to it. And you just go, you know what? Not today. And then not today. And then not today. And then next thing you know, it's not this year.
Right.
I would
Not
just
this
say,
year.
just don't be afraid of the money or talking about money. I think that,
Man.
the one thing that we all are, for some reason, when you don't have the money, you don't want to talk about it. But it's important that you do talk about it because you want to be able to think about, how to solve these problems as a grown-up and not crawl up in a little hole and say, well,
Crawling in a hole.
I don't know how this is going to work. So, I would say, face it, head first and be honest with whoever you're dealing with and just talk about the money. They're, at the end of the day, just have those conversations.
I have someone not answering the phone right now that owes me $37,000. They can't avoid me for long, as I know where their building is, and I will be there soon. Hi, if you're watching.
If you're watching,
Or you send an email
on my
every
way.
single Friday asking for payment.
Yeah, so it's
as much as you can.
I've been on both sides of that.
yeah.
I've had the emails. I've sent the emails. My partner sent emails. We've received emails. The thing you'll learn is that, like, business is not this other universe where all of a sudden, in money, we've been taught as humans, especially if you've grown up poor, that money is like this whole other thing. Like, money in and of itself corrupts people, and money in of itself like slits your throat. Like, it's like money just like a stack of dollar bills just walks into your room and beats you up, right? Like, it's like, everybody relax. And because we're so uncomfortable talking about money, like Anthony was talking about, we don't know how to talk about it when it's bad. I know in the hood we do this thing where, like, even your grandma will like slide you money to your palm. I don't know if other communities do that, where like nobody like hands money. You just like slide the money. You're just like, here you go. It's like, chill. Everything doesn't have to be secret. Like, you slip it into the tithing basket. Like, even this, it's even like a secret to God. It's like 10% of whatever you got, and you gotta like just like slightly throw it into like
You
a
can't tell
satchel.
people what that 10% is. Right? It's 10% of
10% is
a
something.
dollar. Here's a dime.
And because of that conversation, we've harmed a lot of people at many levels. Employees don't know how much their peers are making sitting in chairs right next to them. It's given businesses a lot of power. Because we're so afraid and ashamed of talking about money, people aren't able to strategize around how to get money.
See, no,
together.
I have a labor background, so the money's up front. There's a grid. Hey, this is how you're level 1. This is how much you make. And this is your level 2, and this is how much you make. I found that was very empowering working in labor relations when everybody knew where everybody was at and why. Okay,
Yeah.
You've been here 10 years. This is why Johnny makes this amount of money. You've been here 3 months, and this is why you make this amount of money. So I think in my business, it's very upfront.
Yeah, I try
It
to
should
be. My employees know what my checks are. Like, I'm very open about all of it with my
See,
staff.
I'm not open. They assume I'm getting a check.
Yeah.
My staff thinks, I'm balling out of control. I'm absolutely not.
My staff knew when we got paid and when we didn't.
Yeah.
They knew when they got paid and when we were going to have a hard time. It was all.
When I get my allowance, I'm drinking Starbucks.
Right.
When I don't have my allowance, I'm in the, what is that, the cup? What are those cups? Dixie cups.
Dixie
with
cups?
the lid on it.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
You
the,
should get like a solo cup of
With
a
coffee.
yeah,
like
like
just a red
The
solo.
50 cent
Right.
deal coffee
right. I have my little at-home water
No
and
Name
oat
Donut
milk
Shop.
with my Starbucks cup is at the beginning
At the
of
gas
month.
station.
Because
Yeah.
all we're trying to do is make sure that all of you get paid.
That's
I mean,
the most
that's what
important
we are
thing
trying to
is
do.
my
And
staff.
sometimes we
That's it.
can't get paid ourselves just so you can get paid.
That's a small business
all the
reality.
time.
Yeah, and I will
Sometimes,
admit,
no, all
I was, early in my very earliest of tech career, I was jaded because I did work for two crazy people. One particular person it was a race I learned the second Friday. We got paid every Friday. The second Friday, I realized if you wanted your paycheck to for sure cash, you went to the bank before the other people did, which meant I couldn't
Sheesh.
figure out why everyone went to lunch on their lunch break. You're like, oh, you knew, aren't you?
Oh my God.
And
what?
sometimes you would have to wait till Tuesday, and the owner just didn't care, and he would say fun things, pat you on the back, and say, you should work harder. I'm like, but I did work hard, and you just paid me on Friday, but you told me I can't cash a check till Monday now. Yeah, the money ran out. Just... if you work that place, just
That's
leave.
tough.
Because you've worked for the wrong entrepreneur. I'm the opposite. I think all of us, we shared a lot of stories, and we all have done things. Like, I sold vehicles. I sold things I had. I racked up credit card debt to make sure all of my staff was paid. I held paychecks for 3 months at a time for myself, and then racked up personal credit card debt to make sure anything I had was being paid, so I could make sure the people they were being paid, so I could run out and knock on every door, write every personalized email. By the way, never use a cold script that you bought from someone. It's impersonal, and I'll ignore it. But I used to read up on someone, figure out what they did. Hey, I think I can help your accounting firm, blah, blah, blah. And like personally, it was like I was hustling hard to try to get that next growth in the business.
Butts and seats.
But I had to have people
Butts and
answering the
seats.
phone and keep butts in seats. And yeah. So it's like I've always cared a lot about that. But, my staff knows it. And some of them have been with me for like 12, 13 years, I think is the
Wow,
longest.
that's amazing.
So, but they know it. Of course, he also gets mad when I give everyone else raises because he'll say things like, you're going to make them think they're people. But I'm like, that's why you're not in charge of this business. And they know that's why he's not in charge.
I think that, we talked a lot about what we wanted to talk about, and it was like the reality of being an entrepreneur. it's not all doom and gloom, and there's some really
No.
cool things about it. But I do think it's important that if this all started with the like, not wanting to have a job is not a reason to go be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Absolutely not.
If you think that you are overworked at work, and so instead to work less, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you are about to be rudely shaken out of your
Yes.
soul. That like 12, 14-hour days are not strange, especially at the beginning. Like if you are excited about being an entrepreneur 20 years in or something like that, then fantastic. But the first 5 years, 6, 8 years can
Think
be
about
very
how long 5 years is, or just
Oh,
even
yeah.
1 or 2 years. Like the
Goes
amount of
by so
like
quickly, though.
effort that it does go quickly. But
Yeah.
when you think about like,
but it ain't quick when you're in it.
no,
No.
When rent is coming towards you, but payments aren't coming towards you.
days
Oh,
are
It
long,
was
but the years are
just-
short.
oh man.
It literally was just the 15th the other day. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've got 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know.
And
I'm
now I
so
only
good
have
at
7
eviction.
days.
I know everything about the eviction process. I know every step of it. I remember going into court. I had a public defender that I had to tell to move out of the way so I could take over the case and then dispute some things. And you just get real good at stuff you don't want to be good at.
Yeah.
Getting good at telling people that you can't pay them is not a thing that I've ever wanted to be good at. And I'm not saying and I'm not good at it. But it's something I've had to do. But it feels like crap.
It's not, I didn't get successful after, the first year in business. It's still accumulation. There's still challenges. There's still challenges you face growing it. We just want to talk about that. It's kind of what this point of this video was, is it's not all fun and games, but it's also, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think all of us have that same answer.
So dumb.
It's
like an illness.
It's an
can't
illness.
Go back.
It is
Yeah, I can't go back. I couldn't
I'm
go back to
unemployable.
corporate. I can't.
Absolutely unemployable.
I mean, I could probably get a job, put the black tops in the black bin, put the white tops in the white bin.
I could do it.
But that's
I got 2
back
hands.
at the level
Yeah.
where I was and playing the game, and I can't do that anymore.
There's a certain mental tenacity that it definitely takes to do what we do, but I think at the same time, there's that, like you said, that mental illness where like this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think like, for me, I love the fact that as much as blood, sweat, and tears I pour into this, I feel like I have the opportunity to build something bigger than myself.
Yep.
And that is the most exciting thing, and the reason why I wake up the next day and say, I'm going to do this again.
It's exciting to think that you have all these employees that rely on you. It's terrifying to think that you have all these people that rely on you.
Remind you?
Because it's not just your employees, it's like their whole families.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh God, your soul seizes when things are, because you're not just going, oh man, like, because I mean, there's this idea that there's just like an entrepreneur or CEO at the top, just like laughing maniacally, hoping that people's families suffer. It's like when one of my people was sick or depressed or sad or something was going on in their family, it's like there was a time when we weren't making a lot of money at all because I was the one with the least bills. I remember buying lunch for everyone every day. Like, and it wasn't like, oh, you get perks from being in my business. I didn't really have it either. But it was like, I know what the individual people are going through. To me, I feel as though, like, the people that work for us are giving as much to us as we are to them, if not more, because they're putting faith that you know what the hell you're doing, and you don't. You have no idea what the hell you're doing.
If you've ever been in a position before where you felt unappreciated, then it makes you want to appreciate more when someone's working for you.
Oh, yeah.
And that is something that I feel all of the time. Like I've been in those shit positions or those shit places that I'm not happy about. And, when I look at when someone wants to come work for me or for our team, I feel honored and I feel very, very grateful for having them on my team. And so when they do great work, it's super exciting. And it's like, I always want to pay everybody more than I can.
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
feel that
All
way.
the time.
Oh, I know.
And as much as we continue to strive to be able to provide more and more for our employees, it's a lot of work.
I don't.
is.
I notice you guys say the people that work for me. I always say work with. These people work with me. I say, they work with me. And to Eric's point, when something's going on with someone on your staff, that's another reason why I needed a layer. I was living it. I was taking it home and not knowing a lot about the people that work with me. I don't know why your mom kicked you out, 17-year-old girl. I don't know why. I know you told me why, but I don't know why. But it's still something you think about. And then as a woman, we're taught, society, you are to care for, enable, and all this other stuff. And as the leader of this organization, it is not my job to get you to work every day. I've been tempted to. It is not my job to find you housing. I have been tempted to, right? Because as a nurturer, as a woman, you want to make sure, you want to fill the gaps in their lives so they can better produce for you. I have found that no, they even produce less for you. When they work with you, they work with you less. When you become mom and they're not able to, when you give permission to allow their personal life to come into the workplace, they do less, and then their mindset changes from this is my employer to this is my partner, right? And I can do this because this is who she is to me. She cares about my son.
Comes back to you have to have some levels of respect and layers sometimes.
Yeah, you have to put in a layer. I've gotten caught up. I'm caught up now, and thank goodness now that I have a layer who has had to slap me already in month 2 and said, "There's no way your business is going to grow if you keep putting your business on hold because of what they're doing outside of your business, and pay them." So they come into work, they do the minimum, but because you understand that they're going through whatever they're going through, you allow it and then just supplement them with everybody else.
Or
you can't do that.
Like when you lease one of them an apartment, the guy that works for you, and then he decides not to pay it, and then they call you because he didn't pay, and his answer is, well, if you fire me, I will just walk away from the apartment.
You did that?
Sheesh.
Yeah, I did bad
Tom,
things.
you leased an apartment?
I know.
We do a lot of stuff. I mean, here's the thing.
It's just crazy. I learned. I just back to this was like in 2005. I think I did
We're
that.
like,
so
whoa.
I think
13 years ago.
I'm torn. I've always
never
been.
do it again.
I've learned.
In case any of my staff's watching, no.
No more leases.
No more leases.
No more apartments.
No
Jeff
more.
burned all you guys.
No more soup for you. But here's the thing. This is why I'm always torn. So I spend a lot of time employing people from disadvantaged backgrounds, right? People who don't have the opportunities to do some of those things. And here's the thing: when you hire folks who need additional infrastructure, it is on you to provide additional infrastructure, because you can't expect them to have vehicles when you know they don't have vehicles. Like, you hired them in the first place knowing they may not have the infrastructure in the first place. And I had a lot of that when I was bringing people to do design, and they may or may not have been able to get some of this stuff. And yes, sometimes it hasn't worked out. But I say this, I stand by this. I refuse to let a few assholes make me better. I refuse. Because at the end of the day, one of the great challenges that's happening is that people who don't have opportunities to get opportunities. And so if they can't, you like when you talk to people who are in tech or who are in art or in design or the stuff, you say, well, I'm looking at your portfolio. But some people who have great portfolios only have great portfolios because they were hired into a place through sheer circumstance that allowed them to build a portfolio and take a risk with safety. And so you get these folks who they never had an opportunity to create an opportunity. And so when I talk about mental health a lot, if you have people who are suffering from depression or who are dealing with all these different things, it is a challenge. But somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but the question that's always been on my mind is, what is the business model? Do I have 70% people who are able to manage the workload in case something happens, and then 25% people who have challenges that I'm trying to pair people together and then create opportunities, or not? Because people always say, make your money then come back and help people. But if it takes me 20 years. People are gonna die in the middle. Like, who's gonna make it in the middle? And this is just me. I'm on some social justice, public good entrepreneurship, like a damn fool. But
it's tough.
But it's something that I think about. Yeah, I come from those backgrounds. I am lucky that I got lucky.
Yeah, no, I think all of us, it's something we should always take in consideration. Bill Gates, Buffett, a lot of them are taking and giving back quite a bit now that we see, but they're. Yeah, I know. I make the same face a little bit. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're right. Bill Gates came from an upper middle class family. Mark Zuckerberg came from an upper middle class family. So. Steve Jobs came from an upper middle class family.
Well, Steve Jobs wasn't charitable at all. We'll just throw it out there.
Right. He wasn't helping nobody. People had a lot of opportunities, and you hear some of these people love these underdog stories. Like, I was eating piles of poop, and then I had this great idea to change the world. It's like, that's not normally what happens. You look at something like Uber, like. Uber is a chauffeur service.
Yeah.
For everybody else. Somebody was living a very classy life when they came up with that idea. You know what everybody else needs? Limousines. Like, you know, like
See someone to drive them around.
everybody needs one of these. You know, it's like, what's going on?
And I think that's probably a good thing about. We should always mention. We talked about this. Don't chase unicorns. I mean,
Man.
you know, there's an Uber. There's all these Silicon Valley darlings that ended up raising. You know, some of us have met some of these people. We all have personally met someone who sold their company recently for $2 billion last year. So,
Oh,
I mean,
true. Yeah, he did. He definitely did.
I think he deserves. He works hard, but you're
One of the best human beings ever.
He's
If
a-
anybody ever deserved $2 billion, it's the homie.
Yeah, great guy. We actually think he's all a good guy, but it's also one of those things like, don't start your business plan out chasing unicorns. Like, it's just so rare that something like that is going to happen. We all represent small businesses who've been in business a number of years who aren't in the 3 comma club yet.
Find a way to make money week over week, month over month, year over year. That is like at its core.
Day
I know
over
it's just
day.
like that is what business
I'm day
is.
over day.
But
Make
it's weird
money.
It's weird to think that you actually have to sometimes say that, or even think to yourself, "Where like I need to make sure I'm actually making money."
We
Make
thought about just
money.
about how do we all make money? We thought that was like part of the conversation we had like while we were eating. It was just like, is that what we should title this? How do we make money? But we'll ramble on forever if we don't wrap this up. So I think, is there any closing advice we have? Because we could probably just keep going on forever, but we'll see what based on the feedback if they need a part 2 to all this. What do you think? What is closing advice, maybe, Eric? I'm gonna go through all this. You
Oh
just
boy.
at my right
All
side,
right,
look
I'm just over here.
Or should I go ask him first because you're thinking?
I'm thinking. That's so hard. Okay, so what I would say is, don't fall for the BS. Don't fall for the nonsense that says you have to be in newspapers to be successful. Don't believe your own hype when you get the coverage that you're getting. And I think, to Tom's point, don't chase this idea of entrepreneurship being a silver bullet. Sometimes you can follow your dream in somebody else's framework. If you want to paint, if you want to do law, if you want to do tech, if you want to do those things, sometimes you can allow somebody else to build the entrepreneurial infrastructure for you to do the things you love. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you won't be able to do the things you love anymore because your job is to work on the business. And so because you're working on the business, you're building frameworks, infrastructures. Back to our definition, an entrepreneur's job is to create processes by which to derive value. If you're not doing that part, you're not doing the entrepreneurial part. If you're still doing the graphics, still doing the stuff, you're not building the business. And that is something that it was very hard for me as a designer to really come to grips with. I either am going to make stuff or I am going to make a business. And it's hard to do both. You can, but it's definitely hard to do both.
Yeah. Something I'll say, and you get caught up in the hype of someone like Gary Vee. He's just probably the most public person I can think about. But decide if that's really right for you. This whole, oh yeah, right hook, jab, super hyped up, over the top. You know, he's just running and making meetings and making it happen and busting these deals. Is that the life for you? Something as hard as I do work at Entrepreneurship, I pick my kids up from school. That matters a lot to me, and because my dad never had the time to, and I thought, you know what, my kids should appreciate some time with me. You know, these are things that I even structured around there, and it even leads back to why I couldn't even take a job. I'm so used to doing things like that. Like if they need something, I've structured a business so I can walk away from it. Times I had times when I couldn't. I mean, there was sacrifices made. They when my daughter was very little. Well, as long as she didn't see me, she was at the office with me. I used to like have her in the back, and I was fixing computers and stuff like that. So she didn't get to go maybe some places she wanted to. But you know, there's sacrifices made. But the other part of it is I didn't want that Gary Vee style life. I see that. I see people getting excited. I think he's got some great advice. I watch him from time to time where he's got some really just amazing insights into things. The other side, though, he has chose to, so to speak, and he admits in some of his talks, he sacrificed parts of his life. But that also means trading maybe family life and things like that. Think about what you value before you get overhyped with someone like Gary. So think about what you want to do. And if you're single and just have unlimited time and don't really have a social life anyways, you can put a lot of time into it.
Nobody loves me, so I'm just out here working.
What about you, Dana?
Focus on the work, and the rest will come. Picking back on what Eric said about don't believe your hype. deciding if you're entering entrepreneurship because you aren't getting the recognition you want at work, you're not getting the praise, you're not as accomplished, and you don't feel you're as accomplished in your career, and you want somebody to think that you are producing. So here, let me be an entrepreneur. This isn't for you. Focus on the work. Everything will come with it, and the work will change as you grow. The work when I started was answering the phone, doing admin work, and shampooing heads. Now the work is something else. And I think more importantly, take care of yourself. None of this works if you are mentally in a corner, rocking back and forth with your thumb in your mouth.
If you die, your business will too.
Right. Or unless you have the systems and processes in place to go on. So we have a D-Day.
Well, that's the ultimate taste.
Yeah, we have a D-Day for Dana. Shut down the next day, open up. That we have a plan. If something happens to me, this is what happens, right? But that's not the plan for something to happen. The plan is to get back in the habit of taking care of myself like I was able to when I worked a career. Like I said earlier, I used to read fiction. I don't do that anymore, right?
An entrepreneurial parable.
Yeah.
I used to read fiction.
I used to read fiction. And so focus on the work. The work will change as you evolve. And through that evolution, take care of yourself. Know the difference between being self-employed, being a business owner, being the CEO, being an entrepreneur, being the chairman, and then being the founder. To me, that is the latter. I think when you and I met, I was very self-employed, and we were in class, and you said, wow, I'm actually watching you turn into a CEO. So that is, and I'm still getting closer to being a CEO 3 years later. But focus on the work, take care of yourself, and the work will change as you evolve in your process. That's it.
I know we've talked a lot about many different stories today, and I know it might seem like there's a lot of stress, and there's no holding back. There's definitely is a lot of stress in trying to build and run a company. But I would say if I were to give a point of advice, it would be tomorrow is another day to make a new decision. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important that even though you may have had a really rough day, the next morning when you wake up, look at what you have in front of you and make new decisions. Mm-hmm. And maybe yesterday you made a bad decision. Don't live off of that. Think about the decision you're going to make today, because you can't change what you've already done. And I think that it's so important that as stressful as it can be, and as many decisions that you'll look back and say, why did I do that? Use those as learning opportunities. I think that there's so much that we can learn from our own mistakes. Sometimes emotions get the best of us. I know I've said things or maybe have done things out of emotion. I, again, can't take those things back, but when I wake up the next morning, I try to make a better decision that day, and hopefully over time I continue to evolve and make better decisions going forward. But yeah, I would just go back to that tomorrow's another day to make a new decision, and don't sweat the details, really.
And that's about it, man. It's we could, like I said, we can go on forever about this, but we're going to wrap it up here. We have a lot to say. We're all exhausted, but we're all still here. And we all, by the way, this is why are we all sitting here together? Entrepreneurs will help each other. Don't believe that myth that we want to see you, whoever you are on the other side of this camera, we like to see you succeed. We like to see other people. The reason why we're all
here, and the reason why we all, I think, talked on your Facebook is because we want to help.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we all talk together. I think anybody who's trying to build a company and they see anybody else who is trying to build a company, you want to find a way.
We all know what it's like to be lonely as an entrepreneur, so we all would like to have less of that for you, for us, for everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, it's so very lonely. It is very lonely.
The no new friends idea is such BS. The fact that you can't trust anybody in business, that there's no friends in business, is absolutely nonsense. I mean, that is something that you are told by people who have a bunch of friends in giant networks. Do not fall for that. Networks will make your business.
That helps a lot.
Network. That's part of your work, right? As your business grows, your work evolves. And some of my work has been networking.
Get to
right?
know people
When I
helps a
first
lot.
opened,
That's a
I was
whole
not
nother
networking.
That's a whole nother.
Yeah,
we do a
right.
whole video on building network.
And there's nothing, and I don't know about you guys' opinion, but there's nothing more amateur to me than when somebody says, "Oh, I have a business idea, but I don't want to tell you."
Oh,
yeah.
get out of my face. I do
In
not have
case
time
I
to
don't
steal
wanna
your
tell
idea.
you.
Then I don't wanna
In
talk to
case,
you.
know,
I may have wrote a blog post
exactly.
about this like 5 years ago.
Well, if you just
I
signed
don't
this
want to say
NDA about my
anything.
scrunchies,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
out of here, bro.
About my driveway cleaning company.
Ideas are cheap.
Like, no.
Ideas are cheap. Ideas are easy. Everybody's got ideas. Execution's everything.
Yes,
So.
just It's if it's met what's for you is for you, and nothing can
Yeah.
come in between that. With Lawrence Technology is for Tom, 13 years strong. There's no competitor that's
16,
going
I
to
think. I don't know.
16. Shut.
I've been planning on stealing his ideas. since I
Yeah,
met
there's
him.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
there's going to be competitors, but the contracts that are meant to come to him were meant to come to him.
By the way, this guy wrote some of the verbiage on my website. That's also, I have hired Eric. He is the one. We focus on technology, so you focus on your business. Put that in brackets. Find out how many websites have copied it. That's how famous that line is now that you wrote.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I
What
have-
is the
line?
My website has been plagiarized. We started making a list of all the plagiarism sites because it seemed like a fun game.
Yeah.
So we found one in Michigan, and I called the guy out on it. But they all copied. They copied your copy.
Well, you
so
know.
that's how good it was written.
We're gonna sit here
If people start robbing you, you've done your job.
And then we're gonna
That's
sit
my
here
creative
and be like,
bit.
do you guys remember when we did that video with Eric?
Whatever.
Like,
You could get a video with
right,
Eric
do you
before they were
remember?
flying places.
Do you remember when we
one
did that
time.
video with Eric?
I am no one.
Wow.
I am but a black man.
My
with a
kids are going to be
ponytail.
like, Mom, really? Were you in a video with Eric? I don't even have kids. And they're going to be like, oh my God, were you in a video with Eric Thomas? And I'm going to go, yes, baby. Yes, Mommy was.
I am but
I
a man
was.
in a cheap suit.
That is
A
well-made
we talked about it was
suit.
cut
Who
earlier.
hates Detroit?
Hey man,
Hates Detroit.
it's a stressful town to live in.
It's very stressful.
I'll leave links to all these people if you want to learn more about them or how to reach out to them or hire them for whatever. So I'll leave all that fun links, and thanks.